There's a lot of energy around this upcoming season. We're excited about that, but you're exactly right. I think we do have a roster of guys that I expect to come in hungry, and I expect to have a chip on their shoulder, with something to prove. Two of our guys coming in this season are guys returning to the roster or returning to the Pacers. Darren Collison and Lance came in for a few games at the end of last season. Those guys will be playing with a whole new roster of players. Lance will not have Paul George and David West and Roy Hibbert and George Hill. And we expect him to come in and show maturity and, be the player that we feel he can be out on the floor. Darren Collison, the same thing. When he was here for his first time around, a young point guard, learning the game. We feel that now he's in his prime, and I'm excited to, be back in Indiana. We both chose each other. He had other options that he could have gone to, but he chose to come back to Indiana and play. So we're excited to have him on board. And, Miles Turner, a young, talented big that each year continues to improve. All of a sudden is playing with a roster that, really three new starters in that starting lineup. And, he's worked extremely hard to improve his body, to get stronger, improve his game, in the low post, as well as continuing to work on the perimeter. So as you mentioned, we do feel we have a number of players that are hungry and have something to prove.
Coach, will this training camp be different because you have so many new faces and trying to blend everybody together?
Yes and no. I think we will. I know we will go a little harder. We'll have more tour days than we've had in the past because it's going to be a short preseason, and we want to try to build as much chemistry and give them as much as we can before the 18th, our opening night. But I think it's going to be a very competitive, training camp because we have 2-3 guys at every position that can play. He's going to want to play, and he's going to have to earn the right to get out there and play. But I think it's going to be good competition. And as I mentioned, a team that, is, I think, more athletic than we have been in the past. I think we should be faster than we have in the past. And, just again, I keep, that hustle and heart is basically something that we're going to live by. This season, outworking you and showing hard when we're out there on the floor.
Does this feel like kind of a fresh start and maybe a little rejuvenation for you personally with such a fresh roster?
It is a new start in the sense that we lost. Paul was an important part of this organization the last few years, and he's brought a great deal of success to this organization, and we have now 9 new faces, so it is going to be somewhat new to the organization, to our fan base. But I think the guys that we brought in, I think this is going to be a group that they're going to be proud of, both on the floor as well as off the floor. And we have an opportunity to mold these guys and create a culture that will be exciting. We will win games, and we're looking forward to building this.
Do you have in mind now a tentative starting lineup, or is it totally wide open?
No, it's not totally wide open. I do have in mind a group that we're going to put out there, the first 5 on Tuesday for training camp. So, I have in mind, the guys that they will be.
You are
no. We won't talk about it, but I think it's going to be good competition, and I think this will be a group that will respect wherever they play, whether they are starting or coming off the bench. And we want to create good competition because we feel that we do have 2-3 at every position that could be starters. I think the guys that will be coming off the bench probably once was a starter and feel that they could be starters in this league. So I don't want them to focus on that. We want to build the chemistry and become as tight as possible out on that floor. And I think these guys are willing to work that way.
Because you are faster and more athletic and feel you're deeper, will that lead to you feel like you want to play at a faster tempo this year and that you'll be capable of doing that?
Well, I want to get after it, and whatever that means. And I think, defensively, getting after teams and, pressuring, but certainly, rebounding the ball has been an emphasis the last couple of seasons. It's going to be an emphasis this season. I think you got to be a good rebounding team to be a running team. And last year we was probably average, if average, rebounding the ball. So it's got to be a team effort. I think we can create and force the tempo, but we got to be able to rebound the ball. And I think if we do that, we will be able to speed up our tempo.
With Lance not having a guy like Paul, familiarity with him, how do you expect that to be different for him?
Well,
have you had a conversation about that?
Yeah, I have had a conversation with Lance, and that's something that he's going to have to show. I expect the maturity to show in his game. There's been several teams that have given up on him. And, he gets another opportunity to come back to Indiana where he's had a lot of success to play. But he still has something to prove. And, we know what he's capable of doing. And we're looking forward to, Lance showing that out on the floor, showing growth, showing his improvement, and becoming even better, than he was the last few years. So he understands that. He's excited, certainly to be back. But now he must show that growth and that improvement.
Another guy that's back is Al, and he's one of those guys that did a lot of conversation about him not being in shape and not being the guy you thought he might be. Miles said he maybe dropped 40 pounds. What have you seen from Al? What do you need of Al this year?
Well, Al has, focused on getting himself in shape and, losing some weight. And because the game has changed, the game has changed, since, really he had success. And it's really changed for the five-man. Al has been a guy that has been a player that can establish the post game. And the game was more of a half-court game, 2-3 years ago, and it's really changed. The bigs now are more out on the perimeter. So not only do you have to be able to, play to your strength, which is post-ups for Al, you got to be able to defend out on the perimeter, defend the pick and rolls, and defend the three-point line. As these bigs have to do nowadays, and that's one of the things that he's tried to focus on. Losing weight, getting faster, being able to guard and rebound and do the things that we need for that five-man to do.
Do you see Lance as a six-man? Seems like he could back up maybe three different positions.
Yes, I do, and I've talked to him about that, and I think that can be a role that he can. I hope that he develop and establish, because he can be a guy that I think a six-man is a guy who really is like a starter. And he can be a guy that can do a lot of things with that second group, with his ability to handle the ball, to score the ball. He passes. He's a very unselfish player. So yes.
So you're not going to try your hand out here on the golf link today?
Nah, I tried it years and years ago when all the NBA was getting into golf. I got into it. And then I bought a set of clubs, and then I didn't play no more. And then I And then I got into it again and bought another set of clubs and didn't play no more. And then I got into it again, bought a set of clubs and then play no more. So you got to put in time, even to be decent. You got to put in time. You can't come out here 2 times a year and play this game. So now I show up. I look like a golfer. Sometimes act like one, but I'm not. It's all a fake. So just excited to be out here. And we do have some coaches representing, though. Coach Popeye, he picks up the clubs, and Coach Steve Gansey picks up the clubs. So we have some guys representing the coaching staff.
Okay.
Damian Wilkins signing was kind of out of nowhere. What have you seen from him, from a guy that hadn't been in the league for 4 years?
Well, veteran. You know, I think you need some veteran leadership in that locker room when you have a young group as we do. But you also need guys who will prepare themselves, and if they are called upon to be ready to play, he will do that. You know, we saw him a little bit in the D League last year. I've had experiences with Damian, and that role is an important role because you don't know when you're going to play, but you got to make sure that you are ready to play. You know, if injuries or something happens to the guys that are in front of you, and do you prepare yourself to be able to do that? Will you accept that role? So I think he's a guy that can fit that role for us.
It's kind of similar to Elton Brand with Philadelphia for a year.
Yeah, a number of teams got guys like that, veterans who they're pros and they keep themselves in good shape, and if they are called upon, they can step out there and play some minutes for you or some games for you. And he keeps himself in good shape, and he's been here with our team for over a month now, and as I said, I've worked with him before. He's going to be a pro.